Hello and welcome to Plugin Along, a stream dedicated to LOTRO plugins. Last time on Plugin Along, we played with the new version of TitanBar, and today we're going to switch back to the D Tracker plugin. We're missing some deeds, and we can make some other improvements, so let's see what we can get done. As always, feel free to jump into chat with your thoughts and questions. In the meantime, I see Skagosi's in chat. I see that Wizik is in chat. Hello to you both. I was standing here looking down on the boar fountain in Brie, and I summoned out a tree, and it is right on top of me, and I find this a very disorienting view, so I'm going to inflict it on you for just a second or two. My goodness, I was getting motion sick looking at this. So, yeah, if you get a chance to summon a tree on top of you, watch out for first-person mode. That's what we'll say about that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and maybe step away from the tree. There we go. Now we can look at the tree, and it's less motion sickness causing. Excellent. Okay, so what are we looking at? We're looking at D Tracker. I'm also randomly hitting things on my keyboard. So let's come on in to Plugin Manager and look at D Tracker. Now this is D Tracker with no save file information. So it's what you would get out of the box with a brand new D Tracker. And we're going to look at a couple of things. We've got... Wrong one. There we go. We've got some to-do items, some bugs people have seen, some glitches people have seen. I saw a bug recently that I want to dig into, and we'll probably actually start there because this was a bug where I completed a deed in-game, and Deed Tracker recognized that it was a deed, but didn't consider it eligible for crossing off. And I want to dig into why that was, because it should have automatically crossed it off. And I hate missing deeds that we can automatically detect, but we're not doing that for some reason. And that was the Spring in Your Step deed. This is a deed that is marked optional or not actively available because it requires you to spend mithril coins in order to complete it at this point in time. Because some of the mounts, you have to go to the mithril Stable Master vendor in the Spring Festival in this case, and purchase them with like 70 mithril coins each. And I had some spare mithril coins over here on... Oh, actually, that was over on Treebeard. But I had some spare mithril coins, so I said, okay, I have started this thing by accident. I might as well finish it off. So let's go ahead and just see what happens if we set up D Tracker the same way. So we want to hide not actively achievable deeds. Let's actually find this thing first. So this is a race and social. This is Spring in Your Step. There we go. So this is under race and social, Spring in Your Step. There we go. Let's scroll on down then to the bottom where we can actually see it in situ. Festivals. No. Collections, I think. Collections. There we go. Spring in Your Step. So this one, we're going to complete it a couple different ways using our debug capability. I'm going to come down here and complete Spring in Your Step. Okay, it saw it, it recognized it. We're going to clear that and unclear this. And then we're going to go ahead and, turn on verbose login. We're going to hide not actively achievable deeds. So these are no longer being shown. And then we're going to go ahead and complete. And we see... checking the deeds, skipping hidden deed did not find an uncompleted deed. So this is obviously wrong. It should have completed it because it was hidden, not because it was for the wrong size character or the wrong class, but because it requires purchase. And that should not be excluded from this. So, checking deeds for matching criteria. Let's see if we can find that in the code. So this is the get deed indices. Given a deed name, return IDs of deeds with the same name and the count of uncompleted deeds. For each ID, include if the region is the same or adjacent, and if the deed is completed. Okay. Let's check on this. Okay. We're seeing a skipping hidden deed. So we're getting into the first conditional here. If hide deed, then skipping hidden deed. But we only want to do that if we are skipping hidden deed not because it's not available. Okay, so we're looking for the is not available. So let's come back in here. If hide deed and not deed skip info is not available, so it is available, then we're skipping. Let's see if that's valid syntax. I have a feeling I've written that wrong. Okay, so that is, these are both not actively available and that they require purchase, but one of them can't apply to this character. So we're over accepting things now. So the question is, what's going on? Okay, so everything else needs to be fine. What's up with skip deed? Let us check to see if it's still hidden at this point, because that could be the problem. Is I might have been using hide instead of skip. So let's come back in. All right, skipping hidden deed, skipping hidden deed. Well, did I actually save this thing? Yep, so we're searching for hide deed. When is this true? Hide completed deeds, no. Not actively achievable, and I think I need to refactor all this to strongly figure out what's going on between hiding deeds and skipping deeds. Skipping deeds, for as far as I'm concerned, are deeds that this character can't complete or shouldn't be considered completable. Wrong race, wrong class, wrong size, whatever. Hide deeds, this is just a visual thing. Should it be shown in the UI? And so I'm not actually sure. Yeah. If we should be skipping hidden deeds when we have the skipped deeds thing, which I don't think we had that when we first began. Let's come on in here and look at the hide deed again. So if we have hide completed deeds, then hide is true. Okay. If we hide not actively achievable deeds and it is not available and it hasn't been completed, then we don't want to show it. Otherwise, we do want to show it. But the skip deed, how are we using skip? Yeah, if I don't think we want to skip hidden deeds from consideration. I think that's just it. Hey, spring your step is now completed. Awesome. So we want to skip obsolete deeds. We want to skip skipped deeds. And this should be filled in the deed skip info. Okay. What is obsolete? Do we have the deed here? Current deed. Current deed.na equals 2. And I don't like that magic number there, but at least we are making this a named variable. So in here, we can unify this and say if deed skip info is obsolete, then skipping obsolete. If deed skip info skip deed, if the level's too high, if this thing is a category, it can't matter. Otherwise, it is eligible. Okay, so if that's the case, we were looking at hide deed, and we just want to make sure. So hide completed deeds. All right, are we actually looking at that is completed? I'm going to assume that's fine for right now. What else? If it's not actively available, so if we're hiding not actively available and this deed is not actively available and it's not completed, then we don't want to show it. Okay, so we are seeing that. Let's go ahead and reload this. We are seeing that those are hidden. We are seeing that this is visible. If we don't hide not actively available deeds, we can see these come back. And let's go ahead and complete another one. Well, let's recomplete that one. Complete. Okay, that's great. Let's go ahead and hide not actively achievable, and then complete. Okay. Cool. So that is probably a fix. Hopefully we didn't break anything else in the meantime, but that seems like a fix. So let's go ahead and, yeah, okay, good. Let's go ahead and go to our source control and start checking some stuff in. So first of all, to do file changes. Maybe one of these days I'll switch over to GitHub, but for right now, it's a text file. All right, the default legendary server cap. Right now, if you load this up, it assumes that if you're on a legendary server, the legendary server cap is 95. First of all, on Treebeard, it's now 105, so that's a little out of date. But secondly, on Angmar and Mordor, it is 60. So I feel like this should always be the lowest common denominator of server levels, and you just go up from there if that's not right. So we're going to go ahead and updated legendary server cap to 60 for Angmar Mordor, because they're going to be that for at least a few more minutes. Cool. We're also going to go ahead and updated logic for hidden versus skipped deeds, RE, not actively achievable. Cool. That is that one. This is the adding of a space. I don't like dealing with that in this commit. And okay, this is obsolete. This is obsolete, and it is. Yeah, we'll go ahead and take that. Also, fix tidied up is obsolete. Check. Normally I'd like to do those in 2, but I'm feeling a little lazy right now. Okay, we have a clean working directory. Great. Let's push out those changes. So, well, yeah, okay. So, if we get struck by lightning here, they're somewhere else. All right, the only thing that is not changed is we have debug option set to true. That's fine. Oh, I forgot to actually mark. Okay, so missed completing a deed because it was hidden. Done. Okay. Someone reported that I included Dragon in the Storm deeds that we shouldn't be. If we get to updating deeds today, we'll look at that. Party Foul and Bean, Claude and Bean Spiller, apparently I have those two reversed. We'll want to take a look at that. Tellurian pointed out that Class and Runekeeper are in the LOTRO Companion data files. So we might be able to do something about that. Let's go ahead and update. Let's follow the steps in here. We have some maintenance steps. Let's go ahead and take a look at those. So, we're going to start the process of adding new deeds. Maybe we'll even get there tonight, but we're going to start the process. Step number 1, pull in updates from LOTRO data. Cool. I have the repo right here. I have fetched. I did it just for the stream, so I don't imagine there's anything else. And I've updated my branch to point at the most recent changes. Great. Done. 2, open the LOTRO Companion Combiner Solution. This is a local thing here. I haven't pushed out because it's terrible, but it does get the job done. So we're going to go ahead and go to the LOTRO Companion Combiner. And what this does is it, for human readability, it squishes all the LOTRO companion files and their strings back into files. So instead of just having deed information with keys that point to another location, all the keys are in situ. Run the LOTRO Combiner. Okay, well, let's do that. Run that. And it's going to think. Yeah, so LOTRO Companion did a great job of separating out localizable strings from data files. The data files have the structure of the information, and then there are keys that point to other files that say, this is the text that is here. And that way you can just look up that key in whatever language file you're looking for, which is lovely. But if you're just looking at the XML file, I find it much easier to see everything in place. And so let's take a look at that. We've gone ahead and added 600 files here. And what that looks like is, for instance, let's find, where am I? Let's close the enums. Let's come on down to deeds, because I know that one pretty well. We're going to, yes, I know that diff is very large. We're going to go ahead and compare the English deeds with just the normal deeds. Let's take a look at that. So normally, what you'll see is inventory item, lore info, key, progress override, other key, and anything else in here? Nope, that's it. And instead, this will recombine it and say, this page described the heroine's closest escape from, etc. So that just make it human readable aspect for it. Great, we have that. Make new folder. Oh yeah. That is fair. Gotta find it first. Okay, so as a staging area in my just in my downloads folder, why not? I go ahead and copy some files off. What we want to know is, what version is this? This is 43.4. Great. 43.4. And then we're going to go ahead and bring over all of those deed and XML things. I don't have a bat file, do I? No, that's okay. So we're going to come on into lore, and we're going to find deeds, copy those in here. Oops. Quests, copy those in here. Really? I don't think I want those sorted by date. Group by none. Thank you. Awesome. And now, this gives me a straightforward way to compare. The last time I updated Deed Tracker, I did the same thing, where I have my deeds and quest files, and so I can easily see what has changed since the last time I updated Deed Tracker, not what has changed since the last time LOTRO was updated. Those are two different questions. So again, if I come into just deeds.xml, I'm going to see things that are not that helpful, so I can come into deeds en and just show the differences. There are a lot of things I don't care about. Point changes, don't care. Quest complete, that's going to get slurped in automatically, and looks like they fixed a typo in complete strength of endurance instead of endurance. Good typo fix. Progress override changed remembrance to remembrance. Okay, nice. Some more points. Another point. Changed the minimum level of a deed. Cool. I wondered about that. That was strange when we saw that. Changed how much XP you get from a thing. From 412,000 to 31. What a peculiar number. And then we see a large block of new deeds at the bottom. These were not there the last time I did an update, and so these are the ones we care about. I'm actually just going to copy that into a new buffer over in Sublime Text here, so that we'll have a place to work from that we can freely edit. And that's everything we need from there. So, copy any new deeds to a text file for easy manipulation. Hey, I just did that. Any deeds, add deeds to existing Excel spreadsheets or make a new one, because I'm using Excel to generate Lua, because I make bad choices sometimes. Okay, so we can look up what deed log tab it goes to by looking up the category. So, let me see where that is. That is LOTRO data. Lore enums deed category. Great. If you need to add a new tab, I don't know that we will. We'll check. Legacy of Morgoth. What are the chances? Instances, Legacy of Morgoth. Phew! Alright, don't need to add anything more. Complicates things when you have to add new deed tabs or pages. Also, this is still going off the old style deed log. I'm aware that they brought in the new style deed log, but I'm also aware that they're still making changes to it, and I don't know how much this is going to change, and also you can't even see it populated with data right now, even if you launch it, which is probably how they fixed the crashing bug associated with it. You know, good times. I don't want to speak out of turn about that deed log, but they definitely made some choices that I didn't appreciate, and we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, Deed Tracker, the plugin, still looks very much like the structure of the old version 1, let's call it Deed Log, with the tabs across the top, controlling what you're looking at. And we'll see if we ever want to do a visual update to that. Okay. So we didn't see a new deed category. Awesome. If you need to add a new tab, but don't. If it's a new type of deed, we'll see. And tier information is currently encoded in companion data parser. It does need to move. We'll see. And once... Okay, cool. So, let's start taking a look first at the bugs that have been reported. I'm going to go ahead and... No, stop it. I'm going to close that. I'm going to go ahead and start with the bugs that were reported in our to-do file here, and only after those are resolved, we'll go on to look at other new things. So first of all, the Dragon and the Storm. I'm going to assume that these are Corsair of Umbar. Okay, that makes sense. I was told Tier 4 and Tier 5 are not intended to be released to the public, but the deeds exist in the deed files. So what I'm curious about is, did I miss a hidden flag, for instance? Unable to find Dragon and the Storm. Oh, right, because I'm looking at the new stuff. Well, that will do it. Okay, so we've got this Dragon and the Storm Tier 1. Great. What I'm just going to do is copy, sorry, not copy, do a multi-select here. Anything that says Dragon and the Storm, I just want to see it somewhere else. So, Tier 5 and Tier 4. Okay, I didn't miss a hidden flag or anything like that. This is, so I didn't miss an obvious do not do this sign. That makes me happy. You know what, we'll leave that open just as a reference point. Okay, so we know where this is, so we can go ahead and come to our Excel spreadsheets. So these are stored with my plugin environment. So this is plugins, Q plugins, that's me, dtracker. And these are resources. These are not. These are source files. And in there is instances. Let us embiggen. And we're going to... Nope. Corsairs of Umbar. Great. So, we want to go ahead and just delete these two. And that's it. And that's easy enough to copy back in, so we're going to do that right now. These go into the deed info file. Corsairs of Umbar. And the reason I use Excel, besides that I'm comfortable with it, is these numerical indices here. We just were able to change all the numerical indices that came after Tier 4 and 5, which was all of these needed to be reduced by 2. So instead of being 43, 44, all the way to 50, we need them to go to 48. And doing that by hand over and over and over seemed like a lot of effort. And Excel gets the job done. It's not pretty, but I haven't heard a better solution for this kind of indexed by a numerical index problem. So we do it. Okay, so that is the first bit of this. The next thing is... Okay, so that's going to be that. Party foul. I don't know where that is, so let's search for it. I'm going to guess class race epic, reputation, party foul. There we go. Okay. So let's come into source files, and that's going to be class race epic. Race and social, and whatever it was I said, party foul. Sure, find all. Really? It's under reputation. I didn't listen to myself speak. Don't blame me. Okay, hardtack crafting event. It's under reputation instead of race and social. Why not? Um, I mean, I feel like since there's, I don't know, 700 deeds under race and social, that it could stand to, okay, I exaggerate, 400 and some. It could stand to be separated out into more tabs. Like, I would assume that they already did this once because Class Race Epic is also Class Race Epic Reputation. I feel like Reputation is great, but you also have your, well, whatever call them, allegiances. I don't feel like allegiances should have gone in there. There should be a separate allegiances tab. Maybe. I don't know. The problem is if you look at all of the deeds together, there's a whole lot of reputation allegiance deeds. But if you're looking at the ones in progress, you can have at most like 6 of them in progress. So from a display perspective, it would be a little silly to have up to a tab for up to 6 deeds, but we have one for fishing, so there's precedence. But just from show me all of the deeds that are possible in this category, allegiances have so many because every allegiance has like 40 of them. What are we at? Like over 200 just for that. And reputation itself, we're already in the 400s for reputation-based deeds. I hope that they're considering doing some reorganization of which deeds are where. Like, I would love to have the delving deeds separated out into a delving category instead of Swanfleet and Cardalon, because I will not complete all of every Swanfleet and Cardalon deed for quite some time because of delvings. And that feels misguided. I don't know. Okay, so Party Foul and Bean Spiller. Let's go take a look at these. How did I mess this up? So we're actually going to go into the full deed one here. And we can see Party Foul. We're going to go ahead and copy that off. And let's find all the uses of Party Foul. Deed ID, Bean Spiller. Okay. Well, that is the one that we were told about. Okay. Any other uses of the Party Foul ID? Okay, so what we're seeing is Bean Spiller has a prerequisite of completing Party Foul. That's what it looks like. However, it's not what I did. I did Party Foul. Yep, okay. The report looks to be correct. Let's come on in. Just got Party Foul, which is not inclusive of Claude and Bean Spiller. Oh, Claude. Let's see what that is. Claude, okay. Claude has a prerequisite of Bean Spiller. Looks like I had these backwards. So Claude needs to come up, and Bean Spiller needs to go down. However, the tiered relationship between the three needs to be changed in a different location for now. Let's pull that up real fast so that we don't forget about it. There we go. So, what we were seeing was that a Party Foul should be first, and then Bean Spiller looks at Party Foul, and then Claude looks at Bean Spiller. Great. Okay. You know, I just realized I didn't double check. No, not that. I didn't double check to make sure these IDs were cleaned up properly. We are not doing those. We are not doing those. And instead, we are ignoring them. IDs to ignore. Great. These versions of the instance were never released. Great. Okay. Fantastic. So this is in the reputation tab. We actually only need to update these three. So let's come back in to deed info and search for Claude. We're not going to find Claude. Search for 407. All right, so 407, 8, and 9 are now Claude, Beanspiller, and Party Foul. So if that's the case, we should be able to come back into the to-do. Just got Party Foul, which is not inclusive of Cloud and Beanspiller. It should be reverse order. Beanspiller is many instances of Sneak Habits. Party Foul is just the first one. Fantastic. Thank you to that person on the LOTRO interface. Okay. That places us in a really good state here. So let's go ahead and regenerate based off of that so that we can do a separate commit from the new deeds. Now it's going to take a minute, so it's time for a drink. Okay, almost done. Let's go take a look at what changed. And you know what? I'm going to close these Excel files so that Excel stops holding open its working stuff. Okay, what we see here is, and let's look at the English version of this file. What we're seeing here is the index changing for those instance deeds that were after that. Okay, we're seeing these two deeds deleted. Okay, fantastic. And Cloud and Party Foul we can see changed indices as well, from 3 to 1, 1 to 3. Perfect. And their tiers should have also, that was the tiers. Great. And the indices 409 to 407, 407 to 409. Great. All of that, it looks lovely. And let's make sure, yep, our to-do files changes have been made. So, errors fixed. You know what, I'll call them bugs. Bugs fixed. T4, T5, Dragon, and Storm removed. Party Foul / Claude order swapped. And you know what? We should remember to update our README file while we're making changes. That would be lovely. I've already forgotten to do that once today. Let's open up the README. Version 3.1. I feel like this is going to be a minor change. Changes. Deeds. Bug fixes. Now we do have one of those. Let's come on back to our commit history. Where did it go? It went here. Great. Updated logic for updated logic. Fixed logic that didn't consider not actively available. not actively achievable deeds correctly. And deeds removed. D4 and the dragon and the storm. Great. And this is under instances. Remove dragon in the form tier 4 to tier 5. Okay. And under class race epic. Swapped party file and Claude. Fixed order of party file and Claude. Yeah. Okay. That way we can actually keep track of what we've done more easily. So this is Dragon the Storm and party file Claude. Great. These looked good. We did these deed info changes manually, but let's double check. That's removing these. The rest of these are indices changes, and these two are getting swapped. Great. Deed names to IDs. Only thing happening here is that the 2 deeds removed are gone, and their objectives. Lovely. Bam. Cool. That sets us up to have a clean working directory for adding new deeds. Let's take a look at those now. So the deeds that we're looking at, just as a quick count, we see 51 deeds. If I did 1 deed a minute, I would be able to finish this before the end of the stream. Probably not going to do that on average, so we'll assume that this is going to extend past the end of the stream, unless I go wacky and stream for 4 hours or something. So, setting expectations, probably can't get all of these today, but we'll give it a shot. So what we want to do is check this out. We have category 89. What is category 89? Category 89, that's the Legacy of Morgoth. So we are adding deeds to the Legacy of Morgoth to begin. How many of those are we working on? That's only 14 of these. So of the 51, 37 others are out there. In fact, let's scroll down for a little bit. Cool. Looks like Birds of Lothlorien. We definitely have some category 84 here. 37 of them. Great. So most of these are birding deeds, and we have a few Legacy of Morgoth instance deeds. Fantastic. If anyone's familiar with Legacy of Morgoth and sees some deeds that are not in fact live, feel free to toss that out there. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and open up our instances spreadsheet once again. Come on over to the Legacy of Morgoth, and we can see we already have 3 instance clusters that are in there, and we're going to need probably a new category. So let's come on in here. We have Temple of Atug-Bur. Are all of these Temple of Atug-Bur? That would make sense. There's 14 of them. And 10 of them have that prefix, Temple of Atug-Bur. We also have Bane of the Blood Spiller. That's going to be in Atug-Bur, okay. Conflicts of the Acorban Valley. That looks like it might be a wrapper deed. Complete that Bane, Vanquisher. Yeah, okay. So we might be getting a wrapper deed around all of these. Okay. Explorer of Atug-Bur, yep. Explorer of it, tier 1, 2, and 3. Great. Deeds of, okay, there's that wrapper for this. And leading the charge, that's fine. Original challenger, that's fine. Great. Okay. All of that looks pretty straightforward. So what we want to do is let's start with the deeds of the temple, because that's going to be a bit of a wrapper here. And what we want to do Sorry, I'm just reading the text here. Probably should not get distracted here. Okay, let's go ahead and find the next deed there. That's the Explorer. Great. Let's pop this up. I like to visualize the order in this file here to help prevent some of that hierarchical issue that we saw with the party file and the Clod. Let's see if this is referenced anywhere else as well. Nope, just these two. Great. Next one. That's the Explorer Tier 2. Great. Is this one referenced anywhere else? No. Okay. Explorer Tier 3. Makes sense. What are these quest things? Oh, there's an associated quest, presumably. Okay. Yeah, okay, great. And this one is only referenced in that one place. Fantastic. And the final one here is Bane of the Bloodspiller. Okay. And is that one referenced? No. Is the Deeds of the Temple of TitanBar referenced anywhere? It is. The Conflicts of the Corbin Valley is now a wrapper deed around these 4 instance clusters. A wrapper deed for the instance cluster is what it looks like to me. Nifty. And then we have the Inner Sanctum. What's up with this? Inner Sanctum Tier 1, 2, 3. Okay. For him, 1, 2, and 3. Let's go ahead and fix the ordering on that. The TitanBar looks like it's divided into 3 different subsections. We have the Inner Sanctum, we have Thorhin, and maybe just 2. Okay, we have Leading the Charge, and we have Original Challenger as well. I normally put those under the not actively achievable because they're time limited, so even though they might be achievable now, we should assume that they won't be achievable at some point in the future. Okay. Not actively achievable means conditions outside of our control whether or not we can achieve them. That's how I use that. Okay, Conflicts of the Corbin Valley. Let's pause on the... No, let's do it. Okay, so this is going to be... Ashung? Yep. That's going to be Nargambir Bar, okay, yep. Tul Zakana, yep. And then this new one that we're doing, TitanBar. So we need a new category here. Categories are a little wonky still because they're defined over here in the code. So we want to go ahead and find Zakana. And we're going to make a new category. We do need the number. Looks like 318. So we can see 317 is a duplicate, 318 is a duplicate, 319 is not. So that it was correctly updated. Fantastic. And we're going to go ahead and name equals, and does it have a full name? TitanBar? Temple of TitanBar. Great. And we're going to go ahead and copy this in to the other categories. So this is 161. That's a starting point. However, we can go ahead and pick up what that should be. So if we come on into deeds German, let's come on in, Tempels von Utugber. Okay, that's good enough for me. French. And that's Temple de. Okay, good enough for me. And Russian, I'm guessing this is new enough where we don't have a Russian translation for that. Let's take a look. We do not have a Russian translation for that. Maybe someday. In the meantime, that gives us the category that we're working with. So that's number 319. Okay, and we know approximately how many deeds we're looking at here. We have the wrapper 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we need 11 plus the category itself, 12. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and get the category ID in here, and also just the name of that category. Closed it too soon. Great. I like to bold them just to call out that that's what they are. And here's where we're going to go ahead and add in those categories. However, we do know that there is now a wrapper deed. So all of these tiers, we want to conceptually make them one higher. So it's going to be 1, 2, 2, 2, whatever, instead of 0, 1, 1, 1. We'll do the tiers after we do everything else. Okay, so deeds of the temple. And we know that is going to be 1 once we're done with it. And we know the next 4 of these go underneath it. So that's going to be this one, Explorer of, and this is tier 1. Explorer of tier 2, and Explorer of tier 3. And we checked to see if any of these referenced any of the other ones, and we didn't see that. So we're just listing these in the order that they appear in the parent deed, in the deeds of Temple of Utugber, and all at the same tier. Okay. I think, in fact, that is all we need there. So that is those and this. Then we have Bane of the Blood Spiller. It is alone. What do you have to do? Defeat that person within Utugber. It doesn't seem to be part of the deeds of the temple. It is part of it. My mistake. Okay, great. 1, 2, 3, 4. Great. That's why we check. All right, Bane of the Blood Spiller, also a part of the deeds. Great. We also have these Inner Sanctum. Let me check to see. Nothing else references this. So we're going to go ahead and put them at the 1 level. Oops. So this is Temple Inner Sanctum Tier 1. This is Tier 2. This is Tier 3. And then we'll have 3 more here. And we have space for 3. Great. Good job, past me. What I don't understand is in this, we had Complete Explorer of that, Complete Explorer of Temple Tier 2, Complete Explorer of Temple Tier 3. Okay. Cool. What was that? That was Inner Sanctum. That was Thurhin, and that was Dorgirth. So what on earth is this Dorgirth? And why are there no deeds corresponding to it, only quests? As far as I can tell. You know what? Let's double check. Yeah, so it's quests to complete Dorgirth, but there don't seem to be any corresponding deeds for Dorgirth. So if anyone's done this raid cluster, the instance, if you've done a TitanBar, I'm curious, does that make sense, or does that seem like an oversight? But in the meantime, 782. This is Tier 2. And 781, Tier 3. Notice that the index, that ID, does not go in order here. We have 83, 82, 81. It's arbitrary, doesn't matter. But it is interesting to see that those don't always correspond to what would make sense to us. Okay, so that gives us most of these. We're missing Leading the Charge and Original Challenger. So let's look at that. We have Leading the Charge and Original Challenger. Leading the Charge and Draw. Okay, let's see what I normally do it. Great. Leading in Charge, Original Challenger. We're going to need to mark these in the processor. But in the meantime, we can go ahead and mark them as limited time only in here. Great. Just make sure. Nope, not referred to anywhere else. And neither is that. Okay. And finally, the conflicts of the Icarban Valley. We're going to go ahead and insert this at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. Conflict of the Icarban Valley. This is Tier 0. And then everything else is going to go up by 1. Now, we only have a couple of these, so I'm just going to do it. But there are ways to streamline this if I had dozens or hundreds of these. Okay, so let's go ahead and fix those tier numbers. Right, of course, it wasn't there. So we need to bring in this one to start. And then these advance on up. Same thing here. And then finally, great, so that fixes that. And then we want to go ahead and add in the last few. Okay, so that is those deeds, and that should be everything that we want there. Let's go ahead and update the Legacy of Morgoth data. Oh, can't forget this. So let's come on in to our deed info. What did I write? Legacy of Morgoth. Okay. Corsairs of Umbar. Ah, I didn't actually comment it. Weird. The Legacy of Morgoth. There we go. So, we're replacing these values here. And that's enough for us to go ahead and run that pre-processor, well, processor, post-processor, one of those, and take another drink. Okay. Let's take a look at this. First of all, I'm just going to go ahead and reload this plugin. Thank you. And come on into instances. And we're going to be looking at the Legacy of Morgoth. It's not there at all. Attempted injects. Hang on. Right, I've done something wrong. Fantastic. Main window 988. Let's take a look. Well, you know what? I didn't actually check to make sure everything looked good. Let's come in here. These look plausible. And yet, we're not doing them? What's up with that? Let's check our processor and see if we've got a reason for that. Alright, the tier list is in there. What am I missing? They're not in the IDs to ignore. How strange. Let's run it a second time and make sure it was not a fluke. Hey, maintenance file. What am I doing wrong? Add to Excel spreadsheet. Once you update that with the structure. Oh, you know, I didn't actually run update files in this location. I should probably follow my own steps. Great. Run that. And then do this. Fantastic. Thanks, Past Me, for actually documenting these things. Right, so it was working before because the deeds that I was working with were still in those files. Should probably update that to not need that to happen, but, you know, one thing at a time. Yes, exactly, it was a process problem. There's a lot of problems with this process. That's not exclusive. Okay. So I did follow the advice of this, which was if Visual Studio doesn't pick them up, delete the abandoned object folders in that location. Run a companion data parser to regenerate auto-generated data files. Let's check it out. Hey, there we go. Birds of Lothlorien. I haven't done those yet. Okay. Well, you know what? I wanted to see it, but that tells us we've got the new information. So we'll just hold off on this for a minute. Okay, so let us look at the Birds of Lothlorien and other assorted deeds. So these are in category 84. 84 is birding. We already have this category. Let's find it. We happen to know that that's in our hobbies section. What is going on? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and just hide that because it looks ugly. Okay. You know what? I did not do categories here, and I think I'm going to continue with that proud tradition. So let's come on in and take a look at what do we have. I haven't looked at these yet, but we have Birds of Lothlorien Rare. Great. We can see those are part of all the Birds of Lothlorien. Great. So all the Birds of Lothlorien. We have common and uncommon. So let's do that first. And you know what? I probably should have done this anyway. Let's find all the end tags for deeds and just add a little separator there. Okay, we have common and uncommon. We have rare, and we have the rarest bird. Great. Mirkwood. Mirkwood does come later. Great. Birds of Mirkwood. Common and uncommon. Birds of Mirkwood rare. The rarest bird in Mirkwood. And all the birds of Mirkwood. That looks great. These all have a very common pattern here. First, okay, we have the Great River. That's fine. All the birds of the Great River. I'm mentally making sure that these make sense in geographical order. Birds of the Great River, common and uncommon, awesome. Birds of the Great River, the rarest bird goes after that. All right, all the birds of the wold, or vold. Birds of the wold, common and uncommon. Rarest bird, birds of the wold, rare. Great. Fanghorn, that sounds good. All rare goes after common. And then the rarest birds in Fanghorn. We have the Croftlands. I feel like Fanghorn needs to come after all of the other Rohan stuff. Entwash, Westfold, Eastfold, rarest birds. Oh, hey. The rarest birds in Rohan and the Great River, which includes Lorien. Fascinating. But it does give you the title, The Unburdened, which looks fantastic. Okay, so we have oh, that's the rarest birds wrapper. Fascinating. Well, that's not going to do that. But that does give us a canonical ordering. So we have Lorien and Mirkwood, the Great River, the Wold, Fanghorn, Croftlands, Entwash, Westfold, Eastfold. All right. Fair enough. So let's go make sure we didn't mess that up. Fanghorn, the Wold, great. Common and uncommon, bird, rarest, rarest. Okay. Croftlands, we have common and uncommon, rarest, rare. Entwash, birds of the Entwash, all the birds of the Entwash. Great. Birds of the Westfold, all the birds of the Westfold. Birds of the Westfold, rarest bird, birds of the Westfold. And birds of the Eastfold, all of them, common and uncommon, rare, rarest. And then a separate wrapper for the rarest birds in Rohan and. And I think that might correspond. The rarest birds in Eriador. There we go. So we'll list that after the rest of them. Okay, so that gives us a basic ordering that we want to follow. And let's do it. All the birds of Lothlorien. And that is going to be common and uncommon. That's going to be rare. You can apparently find a swan in Lothlorien. And rare wrist. Tunuviel's nightingale. Very nice. So that is those four. On to the birds of Mirkwood. I'm hearing birds of LOTRO over on Little Redhead's screen. Could be outside, actually. But either way, it's thematic. We've been getting a lot of birds around here lately. Okay, it's common and uncommon. That's rare. And the rarest. So by pre-ordering them in the text file, I can kind of go on autopilot here, knowing that I don't have to think about this anymore. Sometimes I do it at the same time, where I will try to enter things into the spreadsheet as I'm ordering them. And it's fine, it just takes a little bit more attention, and I didn't want to give that attention here. So we did the ordering first, and now I know that almost certainly I'm doing it correctly if I just go one at a time here. Okay, that is the Great River. Moving on into Rohan. Settlers. Now, what I said before is needing to average 1 a minute. Obviously, once we get into it, the actual entry here, not counting the processor updates, can go pretty fast. I can definitely knock out more than 1 a minute here. But all the thinking time outside of the data entry part of it can add up. So I didn't want to over promise what I could get done today. But we might actually get all of these entered in before the end of the stream. Then again, we've only got how long left? Okay, that's rare. Rarest bird in Fangorn. All the birds in the Croftlands. Common and uncommon. Alright, rarest. Oh, we can see I made a mistake on the ordering. That happens. So we double check. Common rare, common rare, common rare, common rare. Just double checking that I didn't miss that somewhere else. Alright, and here's the birds. Rare. Alright, birds of the Wash rare. And the rarest. Coming on into the Westfold. Alright, that's our common and uncommon. Here's our rare. Here's our rarest. Now, if I really wanted to streamline the data entry part of this, I could skip the name, just do the ID, and have the processor combine those together in some way. But that would make this spreadsheet even more incomprehensible than it probably already is. So I'm reluctant to do that. So in this case, I'm manually copying it over. But I do have vision of a UI that would do a lot of this for me so that I didn't have to think about it as much. And I'm working to get a little bit more spare time in my day-to-day life so that I could spend more time on projects like that. But right now, it takes less time to just do it this way. Okay, and that gives us the rarest of birds in Rohan and in the Great River. I think geographically I would have said the Great River in Rohan just because that's the way the game progresses, but I'm sure someone who knows about how things sound thought that sounded better. Okay, so we have a general pattern here of the wrapper and then the 3 quests. So I'll just do a lot of copy paste there. And then we want to go ahead and bring down our formulae. Okay, so we have our minimal entries here. We're going to bring those on in to our deed info. Birding. Great. And we're going to replace what is currently here with this. And ideally that is going to look like a straight up addition. All new stuff, no changing of the existing. And that is what we see. Okay, so we want to come into the processor here. And in the tier list, we're going to go ahead and update that as well. And we only need the ones that have an actual tier. So we're going to go ahead and copy these out into a buffer. And anything that doesn't need a tier, that just goes away. And the rest of these, we're just going to format this to look correct. So that's what over in the upper left. So at the start of each line, we're going to go ahead and say this equals, and we know they're all 1, and then have a comment for the rest of this. Great. So that gives us our tiers. I've used semicolons in place of commas, which is a syntax error. But in my defense, it would have worked if this was Lua and not C#. Ah well. Okay. So that finishes that off, and we can actually do the full generation here. Probably. Let's give that a try. And it must be time to hydrate again. Okay, it did not terminate with an exception, so that's very promising. Let's take a look at our deed data, and we can see that there are new entries, and those entries correspond, well, these ones correspond to birds, Temple of TitanBar, great. All that seems awesome. And then we also have some changes. Right, because we inserted one deed ahead of all the rest of those. Okay. Well, that makes it promising, being able to load deed tracker and not have an exception. Okay, Legacy of Morgoth. We have conflicts in the Ichorban Valley. Let's go ahead and turn on experimental objectives. Conflicts in the Ichorban Valley. Complete Bane, Vanquisher, and Deeds of. Great. We now have the Deeds of that says complete Tier 1, 2, and 3 and Bane of the Bloodspiller. We also have these other ones, which are just one-to-one mapping for the quest of 2 of the 3 wings of TitanBar. Again, I don't really understand why only 2 of those 3 are represented here. But if anyone else knows, feel free to toss that in. We also have Temple of TitanBar leading a charge and original challenger. We can see those because I forgot to add them in. We can just do this more easily. Oh, right, that's why I still had the other instances spreadsheet open. I was trying to help myself, and I failed. we're going to come on in here and find the previous deed ID. That's the not actively available list. Great. And we're going to add 2 more here. That's going to be this one. And we'll just update these comments here. Leading the charge and original challenger. Good luck to anyone trying to get those. Okay. Now, that does necessitate rerunning of the processor, but we can look at other things here while we're thinking about that. So, in general, we're seeing names to IDs happening. Awesome. Those are coming in for German, Alle Wochen der Ostfeld. Great. French. Okay. And let's come on in here. We're going to go ahead and reload. And not actively available, no longer being shown. And if we don't hide the not actively available, we can see the tempo YouTuber has both of these available. Limited time only. Great. All of those look like they're showing up. Let's come on over to Hobbies, Birding, and we can see the rarest birds in Eriador. Great. You know what? I feel like this does deserve some categorization now that we have the sort of the old and the new birding. So let's come on in to our categories and think about this. Hobbies. We don't have hobbies. Great. Hobbies happen after instances. So what we want is hobbies, birding, and we're going to go ahead and do 320 equals, and 321. We're going to do that also, and then come update this. And this is going to be I think we're going to crib from the name from the wrapper for the rarest birds. And in that sense, rarest birds, nope. What did we call it? Rarest birds in Eriador. Okay, great. The rarest birds in... Really? Rarest of birds. Birds in Eriador. Great. So this one, let's go ahead and find that. And we don't need that. Okay, do we already have a category name of Eriador? We do not. Not apparently, anyway. So we're going to go ahead and do Eriador here. And then the next one, rarest of birds in Rohan the Great River. Let's check this out. And that is going to be the rarest of birds in Rohan the Great River. Rohan und dem großen Fluss. Great. So let's bring these over. This is line 162. Nope, not that. Conveniently, we were just working on line 161. So then we come on in here And for German, we have Rohan and that. So it's German, Rohan the Great River. In French, Fleuve. And Russian has not yet been updated. Okay. And then the other deed. Whereas the words in Eriador, let's get those values. Though I think it's Eriador in all cases. Eriador, Eriador, Lerdor. Okay. I don't know if the Eriador makes sense to me, but you know. You know what? I'm going to say no. I'm just going to say it's Eriador for right now, and let a French person come and give me feedback. The Russian version of this has been translated. And Google Translate suggests that it is this. So why not? Okay. So that gives us those categories, and with those categories, we can come back into the spreadsheet that I closed. What was I doing? We're going to go ahead and insert for a category there. We're going to insert for a category here. And the category is going to be Eriador and let's make sure that our category code works. Seems to. And then Rohan and the Great River category. And the category ID, these are going to be 320, 321. Great. Let's give that a try and make sure all of this is good. Okay, so we now have this with categories. So, do we need to do anything else? I think we do. Yeah, let's regenerate. When we change deed info, we need to regenerate. Well, we're hitting the standard stopping time of the combination streams of Light Beyond the Shire / Plugin Along. I think she went a little longer today than her strict 2 hours. Totally fine. But let us see if this works, and then that might bring us to a good pausing point in the near future, where we will have added all of these, and then I can do a release kind of separately outside of the stream. Then again, maybe doing it on stream will compel me to actually get it done today, which some people would like. Okay, under burning, we have Eriador. We scroll on down, and we also have Rohan and the Great River. Rarest birds in Rohan and the Great River. I think that sets us up for solid categorization. Rizik says, the release is the best part. Fair enough. It certainly is. Would be nice to get off of my plate and people can look for more bugs. Yeah, so I think we'll do that. We will, assuming they follow this pattern of having the rarest birds in blank, we will use that blank as a category name. So they've gone through Rohan and the Great River. One could assume that we'll have the rarest of birds in Gondor. And I can't imagine there's many birds to find in Mordor, but that would certainly be the next region corresponding with these areas here. Maybe they'll skip Mordor and do the rarest of birds in Hradwaith instead. But they might want to wait until they actually flesh out all of Hradwaith. So they might be pausing here. I don't know. I have no insider information here, but Gondor I could see them doing. Gondor is pretty solidly established. Mordor, are there birds in Gorgoroth and Imlad Morgul? I mean, you could imagine they'd see vultures as a appropriate bird. I mean, vultures are pretty cool, but I know flamingos. Flamingos have a really high acid tolerance, so you would expect them to possibly thrive in a place like Mordor. Like, not necessarily temperature-wise, but just the inhospitableness of it. So maybe flamingos, but yeah, they're just that's tough to find a lot of interestingly named birds to toss in there. So I could forgive them if they skipped Mordor and the bird watching potentials thereof. Maybe the assumption would be you'd be going after the fall, and birds would be returning there, starting with the hardiest of species. I guess I could see that. Oh, and we're talking the birds of Great River and Rohan, but Ravanian, of course, includes all the stuff up in the north. So birding up in the strongholds of the north certainly has not been explored yet. And that's much more hospitable than Mordor. Okay, lots to come, maybe. Cool. That's all of the new deeds that have been released since previously. It would be neat if I could identify which release they came from. So, list of major releases. Update 43 had the Secrets of Utug-Bur. And birding. Fantastic. We're going to attribute all these to update 43 then. Let's come on over to our README. Instances. Yep. This is going to be added. Why do I keep closing the spreadsheets that I need? So this was Corsairs of Umbar. And this is going to be the Legacy of Morgoth. Added update 40, whatever I just said, 43? Yep. Update 43 deeds for Temple of Utug-Bur, including Temple of Utug-Bur. Okay, that is that. We also have, after instances is hobbies. Yep, hobbies. Bird. Added update 43 deeds. Okay. Did I do anything else? I don't remember doing anything else. Done with that, done with that, done with that, done with that. Must be done with that, and that, and that. Fantastic. Okay. Aha. That one is done. I'm not seeing anything else that should be done before we do a release just now. So let's come back in, make sure we have done a commit. So this is added update 43 deeds. And that is Temple of TitanBar and birding in Rohan and the Great River. Great. That is this. And then deed categories, we have the ones we talked about. We have deed info. Let's double check that this looks good. Just removed some trailing spaces there. Legacy of Morgoth has a new section, Temple of TitanBar, and a new wrapper deed covering the 4 parts of what I assume is now a completed instance cluster. We also have 2 new not actively available deeds. We have the birding section now with categories separated out Eriador, the old section, and Rohan and the Great River, the new section, and that is all. That looks lovely. The rest of these are auto-generated files. We'll just peek our face in here a little bit just to make sure it looks good. We can see all those birding deeds coming in and the Temple of TitanBar deeds coming in, so that looks great. These are the names IDs, and we can see what we're expecting to see. These are the objectives. And we did see some of those objectives changed. We saw those when we were first looking at the deeds. Totally fine. That's automatically getting. And this looks great. Okay. So we need some release artifacts if we're going to actually push this out. Now, I do keep those in here under the category website. So we're going to go ahead and get a LOTRO interface description going. Copy that. Maybe there's a duplicate function that I missed. Cool. We're going to go ahead and do that. And 3.2.0. So we'll start with the LOTRO interface description, and that's going to... Cool. Just reviewing some of the older information. Okay, so 2025, 4/15, happy tax day if you're in the US, give or take. Version 3.2.0, added update 43. I guess, you know what, that's the Legacy of Morgoth. Legacy of Morgoth. Temple of TitanBar, and birding. And that's going to be Rohan and the Great River. Deeds. And then we need a release notes entry. What were these? Fixed 2 minor issues. Release notes are there. Fixed a few minor issues. Okay, so that is that. So we have the release artifact for LOTROinterface.com ready. Let's go ahead and get that uploaded so then we can work on the form of description while the file is processed. So we need an actual file to upload. So we're going to come into my Plugin Along releases folder, and in here we're going to copy the previous folder that we did a release from. This is 316, so we're going to copy that and make a 320. And from here, we're going to do a comparison with documents, Lord of the Rings Online, plugins, and we're going to be just doing a sanity check on what changes are coming over, making sure they all look like they're being properly included. So, data files. These are all files that we are expecting to play. Oh, and a new thing. Oh my goodness, there's a README thing that looks like I forgot. Hang on. Session play deeds. Is that customer facing? Yeah, it feels like an internal thing. Also, apparently I stopped copying that a bunch. Oh well. We'll probably circle back around to that later. Okay, so we have the expected files here. We're going to copy those over. And you know what? We're only going to show diffs here. Yep, that all makes sense. And here's that file. Great. Maintenance and do, we do not need globals. What's up with that? Yep, that's server cap, yes. Debug options, no. And I forgot to stash that off, so we'll just deal with that. Main, that's the session play stuff. That looks great. Plugin functions. Yeah, all of that looks great. README, there's our README. And strings, what's up with this? Fixing a capital letter that I didn't like. Great. Okay, data files is good. All the rest is good. We don't want those. That looks great. Okay, so we have our files prepared. What we want to do is now prepare our zip file. So I'm going to copy the previous name and create a new zip file. So right click, new, compressed zip folder, and give it that name. It is now empty, and into this we're dragging the Cube plugins folder. And I'm doing this, as I've mentioned before, if you right click the folder itself and say, send to compressed zip folder, the structure is not going to match what LOTRO Companion is looking for, LOTRO Plugin Compendium is looking for. Instead, we need Cube plugins to be the root folder in this zip file. Okay, so we have our zip file. Let's go over to LOTROinterface.com and see about doing this upload. Okay, so we're over here at LOTROinterface.com. I should probably log in. Great. And we're going to go ahead and do an update. So we're going to go ahead and edit this. We're going to be updating the file version to 320. We're going to choose DTracker 320 that we've already prepared. we're going to use the text that we've already created, so we don't have to think about that. And we're done. We're good with the images, and we're good. So let's update that. All right, the file has been updated. Now we're going to see that they're going to have some terms and conditions here. Totally fine. We're going to come on back to dtracker, and we can see that this file is currently awaiting approval from a file admin. Perfect. While that happens, which may not be immediate, and that's totally fine, we're going to come on in and start doing the forum version of this update. I foolishly closed the LOTRO Wiki's list of major releases here. Secrets of TitanBar. There we go. Adds this. Okay, and fixes a few minor issues. Version release notes. So from this, we're going to be copying the README stuff. And we're just going to be converting it to a slightly different format. So let's pull this over into a fresh buffer here. First of all, let's outdent everything. And then deeds, we're going to go ahead and start with a list. And bug fixes, we'll start with a list. We'll also end with a list here. Or end list here. And any place where we're doing indents, we're going to do nested lists. Great. We're also going to go ahead and close each of those lists where appropriate. And that gives us this. Okay, so list, close, list, close, list, close. Just doing a quick little double check. Awesome. Was weird that I didn't pre-delete everything else, but I think that's fine. So let's go on over to the LOTRO forums, which we can get to from this link of revision history. Let's come on over here. Probably we'll need to log in there. Sure. Ik ben geen robot. Okay. So, still want to go back to where it was. And we want to go ahead and do a new post. I have done my lists incorrectly. I forgot to do the dots. So, in order to have list elements, in order to do bullet pointed list elements, we need to have the bullet. Let's give that a shot. Okay, birding is not right. Neither is hobbies, for that matter. Boom. Okay. Great, let's get that back into this file here. And get all of that back in here. Preview. No, ads for secret deeds and fix a few minor issues. Cool. Bam. So, we now have a link for this. Let's go ahead and get that link. Copy that, and we're going to bring it back into the LOTRO description for the release notes R for the direct link to that post. And then we're going to recopy this description and come in and edit it at lotrointerface.com and update only the description, which should not re-trigger a file check. Okay, and we can see this is under review is no longer showing, so that should mean that anyone can find it. So, last updated. D-Tracker updated! Hooray! Aw, people have rated it highly. Thank you very much. All 14 people who have voted. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's nice to see. Most of these have a pretty high rating. We appreciate what people are doing. Okay, and let's be a little vain. How many downloads do we have? Yay! So many downloads, 350,000. That's a nice feeling. But the same person downloading multiple versions of the plugin counts as multiple downloads. So if you've downloaded this 10 or 20 times across multiple computers and versions, but you are one person, you are still 20 in that number. So that's not that many people. It is the number of people involved is a strictly smaller number. But of course, comment analysis is easily blowing it out of the water with twice that many, so no worries there. Okay, so we have an uploaded plugin. The description has been uploaded. We have the version updates. It says here, if we click here, it links back to the correct place in the forums. Perfect. Okay, so that's a release of the D-Tracker plugin, which means we should now commit our final release artifacts, the 3.2.0 artifacts, commit, and we can go ahead and tag that as well. So we're going to go ahead and do a new tag here, and that is going to be v3.2.0, create, and we're going to push that, including the tag. Very cool. So it's easy for us to roll forward and backwards to a specific set of files that we think we've released. Awesome. Okay, well, now that that's done, and that went very, very smoothly, I think we're rapidly approaching the end of this stream, so now is a great time to get any last-minute questions, comments, concerns that you want to throw into chat there. And if you don't have time for it today, we can get to it next time. Okay, so D-Tracker, let's go ahead and make sure it's still loading correctly. I do have some diagnostic code that tells me how long it takes for this to load, and we can see it's about half a second for everything to load and render on my machine. However, if I go to something that has more stuff to load, what does that look like? Still less than a second. Oh, a second. Yep, about a second for Class Race Epic. One of the reasons I have the hide completed deeds option is because if we don't have to add it to this long list of deeds, then it just speeds everything up. So we just get to skip it. So if you have any performance concerns with D-Tracker, I do encourage you to try the hide completed deeds option. It's not just cosmetic, although I do appreciate not seeing things I don't care about anymore, but it is also a performance improvement because then we don't have to add the entire line of stuff here, which is like, I don't know, there's the LOTRO points, there's Virtue XP, there's the text box here, there's the text box here, there's the checkbox here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Minimum 5 things plus the container 6 thing to create and add to a parent control. it adds up. If you knock off a few hundred of those, you can make meaningful impact on the amount of time it takes to render one of these pages, or at least to load up. Okay, awesome. So it still looks like it's working. That's good. Great. Lizik says thank you. You're very welcome. I hope people continue to enjoy using Bead Tracker, that it is a useful tool for them as I find it useful for me. Neat. Okay. I don't see anything else coming into chat right now, so I think we're going to go ahead and stop there. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of LOTRO plugins. I hope to see you all here next week, and until then, keep plugging along. All right, bye-bye now.